and it's my great privilege now to introduce Aunty Pat Ansell Dodds, who is a member of the Arrernte and Amjatere nations. She's a renowned artist, a writer, a lecturer, a campaigner for Aboriginal land rights and passing on local Aboriginal history and culture from her own experiences. She's also doing incredibly important work as a member of the Alice Springs Grandmothers Against Removal, and remains incredibly outspoken and strong about the ongoing Northern Territory intervention, and has been somebody who's been for a long time calling for a treaty. In very recent times, with the Black Lives and First Nations Lives Matter movements, Aunty Pat has begun having positive conversations with Alice Springs Police and wants to engage them with cultural awareness training. So you're all on mute and you can't clap her, but I think if we go like this, she can know that she's very welcome. Aunty Pat, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. When I look at the history of Australia and our people here, it was devastating. Because when I was young, my people weren't citizens of this country until 1967, and to me, that's appalling. And didn't get recognised until there was a freedom fight by Charlie Perkins and students from New South Wales University. And in my head, all that problem that we had back then is still here. And the way they're treating our children is terrible. I've often walked down the streets and I've told the policeman off, why are you doing that to this kid? He's not grown up, he's a kid. And those children look at me and ask me to help them. And it hasn't stopped. I've seen that kind of behaviour all my life. But now, this young man that works at the police station, he's a police officer, he wants to talk to me to try to mend a lot of issues. And I think that's fantastic. But we have a racist government that likes just to get funding off us mob from our communities who have fought very hard through land rights. And even in town here, we fought over native title of Alice Springs, and we won. And then they want to change it whenever they please. So it's still happening. And they don't have any respect. They wanted people to go to Uluru to sign a paper what they wanted. But that's not good enough. Like, we got no brains. We have to move forward, keep wanting our treaty, our rights. So governments can't keep changing policies that affect the lives of our people anymore. It's got to stop. Thank you.
Aunty Pat, can I just follow up, because you're obviously doing a lot of work around making sure kids stay with family, and I wonder if you could share with us some of your thoughts and observations about how kids need to be taken onto country to heal and not in prison. Can you talk to us a bit about that work that you're doing?
Yeah, the grandmothers group, a lot of us from Arrernte mob from here, we wanted our kids to lower the case, the age that they've been put in detentions. They're lifted higher from 14, not 10. And that's important. So those kids can go back home to their country. And Chris here, he's from his Arrernte, and he's got a program for some kids to go back to country and start learning their culture on country and learn how to live. And this town, no matter what we do, it's always been, oh, they're Aboriginal, they must have done something wrong. And we're tired of it. But we want to move forward and start telling our kids to be proud of who they are. and don't make them such in a place that they can't grow up and look at a future. And we got to have a future for our kids, no matter which nation they come from in the territory. So important. And we're looking at stuff as well in a bigger picture. We want them to go back to country and let their old people teach them their culture. Do that to us even today. It's so important because that gives us strength of where we come from. Thank you.
And Aunty Pat, if I could just ask you one more question, because we're looking back at what, 13 years on from the intervention, and I was wondering if you could share with us, what the impact's been on you and what you'd like to see changed going forward.
One of the big things I feel is that the kids, the government has to give them the funding that they were allocated to after they got after they fought for their land and set up their own communities, and to have like CDP programs so they can go back home, their parents, not stay in Alice Springs living on Centrelink. It's so important that the kids go back home because there's schools and stuff there as well. Because they come here, they're so mixed up in their head, the whole family, and the kids could run amok. And we have to stop it. Send them back home to their country so they can get a job. Give them funding to do that, to run their own councils and everything, and employ people on their communities like they did before when they won their land back. Not this stuff, dictate to Aboriginal people every time they want something. Be racist. How can you change a racism law to get your funding of 73 communities and lock them down? That's disgusting. All right.
Okay, thank you, Aunty Pat. All right, again, Aunty Pat can't hear us clap, but we can all sort of wave and thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I might just check in with you, Aunty Pat, to see if there's anything extra you wanted to say. Having heard.
I think what the other speakers are talking about, we're all coming together and we have the same attitude of what's happening, and it's really good. But I think if anybody else wanted to, they should talk. We all can hear what's going on. Hey, Barb.
Yep.
Yeah. No worries. I think it'll be